Elimination of Violence Against Women, org- organized by NAQC SN Law College, Muthoda. First of all, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir, the principal of our college. He is the strong pillar behind us. He is always motivating us to come up with various academic activities. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. Welcome you, sir. And now, a big welcome to the chief guest of the day, the young, vibrant, and talented personality. That's our resource person, Professor Dr. Bismi Gopalakrishnan, Dean and Head of the Department, School of Indian Legal Code, Mahatma Gandhi University, Pune. She was awarded her PhD for research topic, Role of State in the Realization of Health, under the supervision of Dr. Inkel Jayakumar at Department of Law, Kerala University. She won the first rank with a distinction in LLM, and she completed her graduation and post-graduation at Kerala University. And she was published several research papers in eminent law journals and presented various papers in national and international level. We cannot confine in few words about her. That's her career excellence in few words. That's so. It's our privilege to get her as a resource person today in this important day. And I wholeheartedly welcome Professor Dr. Bismi Gopalakrishnan for the today's session. And welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I heartily welcome Sindhu ma'am, the vice principal of our college. And I welcome to all other faculty members, other dignitaries, faculties of SN Law College, and other students who is present in the seminar. And once again, I welcome all the participants to the webinar. And I invite our principal, Raghunathan sir, to share a few words with us.
Okay. So good afternoon to one and all. Distinguished speaker of the day, Dr. Bismi Gopalakrishnan, Director, School of Indian Legal Thought, and Dean, MG University. Sri Ajiman, Manager, SNLC Law College, Srimati GC, Faculty Coordinator, Sharad Pishardi, Student Coordinator, teachers, students, and all other participants in the program. So we all know about this importance of 25th November. UN declared 25th November as International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. So violence against women can be broadly classified into three categories. That is, violence committed by the intimate partner, maybe a husband, or close relative. And second one is sexual violence, and third one is human rights violations against women. So studies of the World Health Organization stated that 33% of the women all over the world were affected with sexual harassment, either from the relatives or from others. So I think that today's talk will help you to understand major areas of violence against women and what are the measures to be taken to reduce such violent acts. As a law student, you have to inculcate ability to oppose social evils and to work for achieving maximum happiness to maximum number of persons. So once again, I welcome all the participants. So please attend today's session carefully and understand legal aspects of the violence against women. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now I invite our chief guest to address the participants or address the seminar. Welcome.
Thank you. Most respected Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir, dear Sindhu, my colleagues at SN Muthoda College, dear students. Actually, the reason why I accepted this invitation is because of Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir, because actually I have actually the relationship started, the academic relationship with Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir started nearly 10-12 years back when I got the opportunity to be, to act as an examiner when he adorned the role of chairman in various examination booths. Actually, it was a learning experience for me. And later, when he became the chairman of UG chairman and also the PG chairman, actually, I learned a lot from Raghunath sir. And as a student, as a teacher, as a, the first thing that I learned from Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir is that we should have an opinion and we should never bend. Before whatever pressure comes in our way, whatever pressures that others give us, we should never try to adjust and make changes in our decision. We should be very stern and firm when making decisions which is legally right. So I respect Professor Dr. Raghunathan sir a lot. I respect him, and actually I personally and firmly believe that if sirs like if professors like Dr. Raghunathan sir heads institutions, we can assure the quality in all its sense. So basically, what we are talking about is the violence related, because it is November 25th. We are talking about the elimination of violence. And basically, what now into number 25 is also, it is known for the theme that is orange, which has the potential of a lot of promises and the lot of beliefs that everything will go fine. So I will just interact for maybe 30-35 minutes, and then if you have questions, we'll just go on for that, because I don't think lecturing on this topic, going on for an extensive lecture will do no good, because each one of us will have our own view regarding this topic. I think you can see my slides, isn't it? Can anyone respond?
Yes, ma'am, the slides are visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll just go quickly. We'll just go through the slides. As I've already mentioned, I'm very happy to be a part of IQAC SN College Putota. And I've been there, and I know your college very well. And we also know that this college is moving ahead, shining brilliantly in the academic field. And definitely when Professor Raghunathan sir is on its help, we can expect more and more results, more and more achievements, academic achievements to this will be added to the baggage of SN College Putota. Now, coming to our theme, that is violence against women and girls. So, why are we more concerned about this? Why are we more concerned about this topic? That too in November 25th, the day when we are celebrating this particular, we are trying to think about eliminating the violence against women and children. Because, violence, it's most widespread, it is persistent, and it is devastating, because it is one of the most important, most silent human right violations that goes around in the society, and it is most widespread also. But what is the characteristics of this particular violence? The sufferers, they rarely speak out. The violence, because the violence is often inflicted on women and girl children. And what is the most important quality or the character that the society gives on the women and the girl children? The quality of to suffer silently. Because if you are born as a woman, as a girl, it has been, a quality is being adhered to you, by whom I don't know. You suffer whatever that happens in your life. And obviously, because of this, what happens is that violence remains largely unreported. Many of the sufferers, the many of these of the women and the girl children who undergo violence, they never reported because of impunity. They remain silent, and of course, the hell lot of stigma that is attached to them. Look, if a woman questions the domestic violence in which she is subjected to, the physical violence, the emotional violence, the economic abuse that she suffers, and she questions what happens. Look, eyebrows will rise, and we will say, yes, she's questioning the family, she's questioning her, her kith and kin, her in-laws, her husband, everything, it is a result of her fault. And again, if she questions and then, if she walks out of the family, another stigma comes in. Oh, she's a single woman and she could have adjusted. And again, the shame surrounding it that has been, bestowed by the society. Everything, it adds to the real story of why the woman or the girl doesn't come forward. And again, what exactly is violence against women? Do we have a definition for that? Every one of us know what is violence. What maybe some of us will say that it is physical, it is sexual, it is psychological, it is emotional, it is economic. Everything, each one of us will have an idea of what exactly is violence. We have a definition that is being given by the General Assembly in 1993, wherein it is stated that violence is a gender-based one, and it may result in or likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of what? Of liberty. Look, women and girl children, they have the whole heaven of liberty attached to them. They have every right to enjoy liberty, every right to enjoy the freedom that is enshrined in the human rights in the Constitution. So liberty, whether occurring in the public or in the private life. So that is a definition given by the General Assembly in 1993. And the violence against women and girl children, it can happen to anyone, anywhere. There is no boundaries, there is no place, nothing of that sort. It can happen to anywhere, anyone and anywhere. You may be moving in a public transport system. You may be in an office. You may be in a workplace. You may be just having a morning walk. You may be in the marketplace. You may be in your school, college. So it can happen to anyone, anywhere. And some women, some children, they react immediately. They resist. They protest. But some women and girls, they're very vulnerable. They're particularly vulnerable. And we can find that, to them, the violence, it is nothing but going through hell. For example, young girls. When you find reports, newspaper reports carrying reports about rape of young children, irrespective of age, you naturally will wonder that, whether you're living in a beastly world. Even beasts do have certain rules of conduct and ethics. When you talk of rapes that is being committed on the young girls, older women who identify as lesbian, the third gender, the bisexual, the transgender, or the intersex, they're also a vulnerable group. The migrants of the refugees, the indigenous women and ethnic minorities, of women and girls living with HIV and disabilities, and those living through humanitarian crisis. They are already in a vulnerable position. And again, when you commit atrocities, when you think of committing violence, when you think of constraining and restricting their freedoms and rights and liberties, when you feel that, look, all this comes from a psychological feel. The feel that, women and children, they are something to be ruled. It is the power equations that actually it comes upon. You know, they are, they are subjected to be ruled, and it is the order of the society. So when it comes, when such a psychological approach comes, when it clubs with this particular aspect, many groups become more and more vulnerable, especially the groups that I've mentioned right now. And violence, basically, it's very plain. Violence against women, it is actually questioning their claim to equality, questioning their claim to development, and again peace. Well, if you cannot enjoy the rights, if you cannot live peacefully, if you cannot think peacefully, if you cannot breathe peacefully, if you cannot walk freely, if you cannot think freely, if you cannot live freely, if you feel that there are invisible hands every time, in a position to prod on you, barge on you, how free are you? So this happens every now and then. And violence against women, it is nothing but an obstacle in achieving all the concepts or the rights that we teach in the classrooms, or we learn through the books. Right from the very childhood, we learn about
I think the internet connection of our resource person has been disconnected for some reason. Participants, please wait. I'm sure she will join back soon.
There is something network kind of issues there, and participants please be staying. Students, it will be okay now. Just few seconds, it will be okay. Participants, please stay there. We've contacted the resource person. She'll join soon.
Thank you, Miss.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for because something happened with the connection. That is, I was just using the LGU connection. So I think I just.
It's okay, ma'am.
Extremely sorry, Ragnathan sir. Sorry for.
It's okay, ma'am. It's okay.
So I think I'll just continue with. I was just talking about the different forms of violence that has happened, and the violence, as I told you, it is something which creates a sort of problem for the achieving the equity and equality and the development of women as such. So basically, what happens is. So, so what the United Nations has talked about is that it is given as a logo that is orange, the world, fund and respond and prevent and collect. So, what are our achievements and what are we going to do about this particular concept of orange? So, actually, the most important thing that we have to understand is we are living in a shadow pandemic. Now, during COVID, what happened was that, since the outbreak of COVID, the emerging data shows that, the violence that the woman has to suffer, especially women and girl children, particularly the domestic violence, they have intensified. And as the cases continues, especially, every services, it is being strained. The health is being strained, educational service is being strained, helplines are being strained. And in spite of this, we are having an additional burden of domestic violence. So the United Nations talks about the shadow pandemic, which is glaring at us, and all of us as law teachers, as law students, we should understand that when you're talking about violence, this is the first thing that our mind should adhere to, because actually from March to November, actually we are facing the shadow pandemic also. So the as aptly stated by Raghunathan sir, violence, it can have different formats. It may be the psychological, it may be the physical, it may be the sexual, and the violence that is committed by the intimate partner. That is the most difficult, most painful, most battering thing that a woman can ever think of. Your intimate partner, whom you trust a lot, whom you interest a lot, whom you love a lot, that intimate partner, creating problems for you. It may be battering, it may be psychological abuse. Because when as students of law, when you're studying Domestic Violence Act, you know the different formats of the definitions and the different types of violence that which we actually analyze. So the violence committed by the intimate partner, especially it may be battering, it may be psychological abuse, it may be marital rape, and it may be feminicide. Again, violence may be sexual violence and harassment. For example, rape, forced sexual acts, unwanted sexual advances, child sexual abuse, which we cannot even comprehend, child sexual abuse, forced marriage, street harassment, stalking, cyber harassment. And again, abuse can also be human trafficking, that is slavery and sexual exploitation. And again, violence can be female genital mutilation. And of course, child marriage. When a child who she is supposed to play around, supposed to enjoy the beauty of the nature, to go around and then feel, the joys of childhood. When you're marrying her off, it is nothing but cruelty. It's nothing but violence. And again, when you talk of violence, does our constitution give us some assurance? What is the assurance that is given by our constitution? Does it talk about the basic provisions? Does it contain provisions pertaining to women, so that we can say that yes, constitution has a gender perspective? Yes, the preamble definitely contains provisions relating to the stopping of violence. Again, it talks about equality in different forms, especially Article 14, 15, 16. And again, it talks about adequate livelihood in Article 39. It also talks about equal pay for equal work for both men and women in 39D. Again, 39A, 42. It talks about just and humane conditions of work. And it also talks about special care, the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people. It talks about raising the nutrition and the standards of the people. And again, it talks about promoting the harmony and spirit of the common brotherhood among all the people. So, and 51A, very important point, it talks about renouncing practices derogatory to the dignity of women. When you see posters, when you see magazines containing pictures actually questioning the dignity of women, then again, always remember the Constitution thoroughly rejects provisions like this. And again, the Constitution also assures equality in terms of elections. And apart from this, just to give the life to the constitutional assurance, you have the legislature. You have a very vibrant legislature, very active legislature as far as the women issues are concerned. You have nearly 50 women-related legislations being enacted by our legislature. You talk of any stages of a woman's life, You have a legislation. You have women-specific legislation. For example, the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act. You have the Dowry Prevention Act. You have the Indecent Representation of Women Protection Act. The Commission of Sati Prevention Act. You have the DV Act. You have the POSH Act. You have the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013. So women-specific legislations are there. And 50 odd legislations which relates to the women's life in different format. 50 plus legislations. For example, if you ask me, do you have laws relating to working women? Yes, we have. Just imagine the Contract Labor Act, the Employee State Insurance Act, the Equal Remuneration Act, the Factories Act, the Maternity Benefit Act, the Plantation Labor Act. Yes, we have it. If you ask me, do we have laws relating to marriage and divorce? Yes. We have the Family Codes Act. We have the Foreign Marriage Act. We have the Hindu Marriage Act. We have the Indian Christian Marriage Act. We have the Divorce Act. We have the Marriage Laws Amendment Act. We have the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, etc. So again, is there a law relating to maintenance? Yes. The Code of Criminal Procedure, the procedure to be followed under Section 125, everything is there. Do you have a law relating to abortion? Why not? We have the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971. We have the PNDT Act of 1994, 2000 and 2002. Yes, why not? We have it. And what about the IPC? Does it talk about offenses? Does it talk about offenses relating to women and children? Yes, IPC narrates. It has provisions relating to abandoning of child under 12 years of age. We have provisions relating to adultery. We have provisions relating to causing death of quick unborn child by act amounting to culpable homicide. We have sections relating to miscarriage, isn't it? We have the provisions relating to dowry death. We have provisions relating to fraudulent marriage. We have provisions relating to a husband subjecting wife to cruelty. We have provisions relating to importation of girls from foreign country. Then we have provisions relating to intercourse by man with a wife during separation. Then intercourse by a member of a management or a staff of a hospital with any woman in that hospital. So all these, then procreation of a minor girl, then rape and selling of minor for the purpose of prostitution, then again, the word gestures or any act which try to create insult to the modesty of the woman. Yes, we have provisions. Do you have laws relating to property, succession, inheritance, guardianship and adoption? Why not? We have the Guardian and Bots Act, we have the Hindu Adoption Act, we have the Hindu Inheritance and Removal of Disabilities Act, we have the Hindu Succession Act, we have the Married Women Property Act. Yes, we have that too. And do we have any other? So I'm just narrating it. You have laws. One important aspect that we should remember is that 50 plus legislations, 50 odd legislations protecting women right from her childhood to her death, right from her birth to death. And even for being born, you need to take the support of PNDT Act. So understand that. And again, for example, towards your end, when you find that, your kids are not looking after you, and then you find that, the property that you've given to your kids, they are not, they have misused the property, and they're not looking care of you. You have the provisions in the Senior Citizen Act through which, you can take back your property. So right from you're born, from the womb to the cradle, to back to the grave, you're being protected by legislations. Name any wake of life which a woman falls into, whether it is a childhood, whether it is a college going days, whether it is you're being recruited into a firm or a government sector, whether you are in the family life, whether you're leading a single life, whether you are in the household, whether you are actually leading as a part of a society, whatever it is, you have legislations. Apart from this, you have special initiatives also for women, for example, the National Commission, then the reservation for women in local bodies, which currently, we are amidst the elections. And then you also have the national policies for girl children. And again, you have the national policy for the empowerment of women. So legislation they bring that is very perfect, very active, very proactive actually. For example, you might have understood when there was a problem as far as the cyber laws were concerned, we amended the IT Act. Then again, the POSHO Act was being introduced. And again, the POSCO was being introduced. The criminal law amendment was being introduced. So legislation, it always, it responds to the problems that the woman faces. And what about judiciary? Yes, even though if the judiciary also it tries to keep in tune with the protecting the rights of women from whenever questions of abuse comes, whenever it always it is very sure judiciary has a mindset that violence must be curtailed to the minimum. And in 2000 we know how the POSH Act was being introduced. And the POSH Act, actually, it was a result of the judicial intervention. And again, the judiciary told, very frankly, very boldly, the judiciary told, look, if you don't have a legislation protecting the women in the work in the workplace, you draft it. Till then, what our directions will remain. We took time again, we took leisurely time so that we took time to draft a piece of legislation. Again, the judiciary intervened, told you quickly draft a piece of legislation. Again, in 2013, we enacted the POSH Act, and again, this is the POSH Act is a reflection of the equality rights that is being guaranteed in the 14, 15, and 21. And again, we also find that how the Maternity Benefit Act was being amended in 2017, wherein you can find that a woman expecting a third child, they were provided right to take leave for 12 weeks and to be paid, and they have a right to paid maternity leave also. And again, you also find that it was being given to a child, that is a child below 3 months of age. If a child, she was eligible or for maternity leave. And again, the maternity the mothers to work from home after subject to their work profiles and the employers. It was also the amendment made that, made it mandatory that, the creche facilities, the children, it is not that, it's very painful to leave the kid in the home and come back and work. You will be so emotionally haunted by what will happen to my kid over there, unless and until you don't have any other persons to look after. If you have your mother or your in-laws, then that's perfectly fine. But if you don't have any person to look after your kids, it's very torturous to go through that particular process. So it is being mandatory, stated in the amendment that the facilities wherein you can bring your child and then put the child in the daycare facilities quite near in the institutions where you're working. So provide women that facility also. The judiciary also stepped into and stated, gave a very bold judgment as far as the decriminalizing of adultery was concerned in September 27, 2018. And again, it was being stated by Deepak Mishra. I'm sure you have read the judgment. He stated, I quote, "It is time to say that a husband is not the master of his wife. Women should be treated with equality along men." And again, we can also find the judgment of Justice Nariman, who stated, "Ancient notion of man being the perpetrator and woman being victim of adultery is no longer holds good." You find the judgment of Justice Chandrachud. He stated, "Respect for sexual autonomy must be emphasized." So you have a very, very bold judgment coming into. You also have judgment relating to triple talaq. wherein, the court pronounced the judgment in August 22, 2017, which set aside the practice of triple talaq. And again, you have the this Shabrimala issue, but wherein, Justice Chandrachud, he stated that, look, stating that the presence of women will disturb celibacy. So such is, you are trying to create a stereotype of women, which, which we should never accept and then go forward. And he stated that fundamental right of women to worship in temple is moved, but, again, the matter is in before the court. So what happens is that what I was trying to tell you was that, what I was trying to tell you was that gender-related violence, it is a leading cause of women's death all around the world, because almost 60% of female homicides are uh, um, I think my phone is being off. I think, is this time over?
No, ma'am. It's
No, ma'am.
3 to 4.
Okay.
3 to 4. 3 to 4
Yeah,
and last.
yeah. I think someone is offering my microphone. That's why, I thought, the time is up. Okay, okay. I'll just take just a 5 minutes more.
No,
No,
ma'am.
it
That's
must be some kind of technical error. I am not doing it personally. If somebody
Okay.
else is doing it, please don't.
So what I was just trying to tell you is that, look, you have an assurance, you have a direction by the United Nations that, violence must be curtailed. The gender-related violence must be curtailed. You have the promise, you have the backing of Indian Constitution. You have, apart from that, you have a very proactive legislature talking about enacting different pieces of legislations so that, women and children, they lead a life of protection, and they expect that. But what happens is that, almost 60% of all female homicides are committed by intimate partner or a family member. And the notion relating to gender killing is broadly defined as femicide or feminicide. And many countries, especially the Latin American countries, they are facing this particular problem. So living free from violence, actually, it is a fundamental right. But it is not only a fundamental right, but it is also fundamental to functioning, because you have to be free from violence. And because only when you're free from violence and all the different violence that I've mentioned, then only a woman can pursue their life in the right manner, with the right thinking, and definitely with the basic reason to live. Look, when you're tormented all through, when you're harassed throughout, when you feel that your life is in threat, your body integrity is in threat, and your dignity is in threat, you cannot enjoy the rights that has been stated or narrated anywhere in the human rights and in the Constitution. So, where human freedom and access to opportunities. So, when you're talking about violence, you're talking about curtailing the freedom of a person. You're curtailing the access of that particular person. And it is not only you're curtailing the access to the life, her freedom, you're also curtailing the access to the basic tenets of human development. Women, when you say that women are vulnerable to violence, that means, you're just creating a stereotype. And we are trying to talk of deprivations only. Look, as beautifully stated by Martha Nawson, she argues that, body integrity is a capability of freely circulating from place to place. What do you mean by body integrity? That is the question she raises. It is the freedom to move from place to place, from being safe from assault, from sexual violence, from different forms of violence, and enjoying their reproductive rights. That is what you mean by body integrity. So this is actually imperative for the enjoying your life in its fullest. So being free from violence. And what we need is laws, policies, and interventions which will ensure that the body integrity of the woman and its capacity and it is being respected and it is not being deprived. Now, as aptly stated by Leela said, we all know that women are half of the world and hold up half the sky. But where are they when it comes to equality? So when we talk of realities, the picture is very, very sad. Now, I'll just mention two cases. The first one, talk of domestic violence. I told you we have the DV Act, which talks about different friends. It talks about the, you can, if it defines the violence in different format, it also assures you a lot of persons to help you out. You have the police, you have the magistrate, you have the protection officer, you have the SOs to help you out. But what happens? So from March 25, 2020 to May 31st. Okay. That is, we started the lockdown in March 21st. 1,477 complaints of domestic violence was filed. So actually, it is the fact that, the 4 phases of lockdown in India showed that, domestic violence complaints has increased. And it is more than the complaints that it was received in the last 10 years. So you can just imagine from March 25 to May 31, you have 1,477 complaints, that too in the lockdown period. And sadly, this increase is not restricted to India only, but it is the case with other countries also. So lockdown, it has brought the world to standstill, especially the women across the world, because they are actually in an abusive relation, because that relation, they have to face that relation every nook and corner, every minute. And there is actually reports from, for example, from Singapore. It says that, there is 33% of increase in the calls relating to women who are seeking help. And again, there are 17 Kosovo, the Ministry of Justice recorded that, there is a reported 17% jump in cases relating to gender violence when we are talking of the lockdowns period starting from March. So again, it is the same case in US also, where, it has been stated that, look, when you are with a partner who is also unemployed, it's a very, very bad recipe where you find yourself always a prey to violence. So again, what happens is that, look, the joint statement which was being made by 82 countries in May 2020, it stated that, look, don't put women and girls into risk. And it is also stated that, during this pandemic, apart from the domestic violence, what we are finding is another form of violence, that is girl children, they're forced to marry at an early age. So this is another trend that is being spreading during the pandemic. And what happens is that, we have to accept that the primary healthcare services has been disrupted by pandemic, and the women and the children, the girl children, they have reduced access to healthcare, the vital healthcare services, including maternity care and family health planning. So gaps in sexual reproductive healthcare and access to basic healthcare,
they have put again the women's life to greater risk, and they actually hamper the gender equality. Uh, and because actually you're trying to create disabilities to the life of women and girl children further. So summing up my interactions with you, I started with defining the violence, the concept of violence by UN. I also talked about I also talked about the constitutional provisions and different legislations that assures protection to women in different formats. And I also just narrated the reality that from the contemporary situation, that is from March to the present situation, where you find the violence, the rate of violence, especially the domestic violence, being increased. We also have incidents from Kerala, very abusive incidents from Kerala, where you find how patients affected with COVID-19 was being treated. So we also have incidents from Kerala, wherein we find gross violations happening. Now, what is the solution? I'm sure you're going to ask me, what is the solution for this? So basically, I feel you have a constitution which have understood the basic premise of gender justice, the rights in its full strength, and you find that you have a very proactive judiciary also. Then why such incidents happen? Why? Well, the answer, as far as I'm concerned, it's very simple. That is the answer that I often, try to um, share with my colleagues and my students also. Look, Constitution wanted change, isn't it? Legislation also wanted change. But from where should the change happen? From where should the change erupt? It is from each one of us. It is from each one's mind that the change should come. Look, legislation can create change only only in the society, but it should trickle down in each of us minds. It should question the stereotypes that is in each one of his minds. It should actually has the new thinking, it should come from each person's mind, and it should cut the fetter, the invisible fetter in which a woman is being chained to. Then only you can think of drastic change in the society. Otherwise, incidents that happened in UP, incidents that happened in Delhi, incident that happened in Ernakulam, it will go on unabated. And you can find, as students of law, we have understood, we have studied rule of law, which does not have any applicability as far as the UP incident is concerned, where you have not left any traces so that you can understand what actually happened. So, from where should the change come? When a woman or a girl is being measured according to her body, the color, the caste in which she born into, and again, the societal notions, change will never happen. Accept her as a human being. Very often we find that we find people referring to the woman as the mother, the sister, the good friend, etc. First, accept the woman as a human being, and then you talk of changing your mindset. That is where you can find the entire constitution brimming with gender justice. You can find all the legislations actually for women working out. Thank you.
Ma'am, the questions will the participant will put some questions in the chat box. Ma'am, please can you answer that? We'll prompt that,
Yes.
or otherwise.
Let us go through it.
Shall I prompt you?
Given all the possible special acts and provisions, where do you think are we lacking, in your opinion? I've narrated, I've shared my opinion. My opinion is that we are lacking a proper mindset, a proper awareness, a proper attitude, a proper approach towards the entire concept. Actually, we don't lack the constitutional provisions, we don't lack legislations, we don't lack penal provisions. We don't lack anything actually. What we lack is the right attitude, the right approach, and to accept that, as I told you, to accept women and children as human beings. And we have many women-specific legislations, but why crime rate against women and girls are increasing day by day? Is it the result of a weak executive at all? It is not the result of a weak executive, it is a result of the weak human minds that surrounds us. It is a result of the weak human minds, because when a girl is moving around at an odd time, you use the word odd. What is the oddness in that in hours? I don't know. But when a girl is moving out, maybe after 6:30 or 7, that is the odd that is being defined by the society. And again, you will have certain reasoning in your mind. She might be going for maybe some different activities, and then if at all you think a girl is being walking, that doesn't mean that it is your right to pounce on her. That happened exactly in UP, isn't it? That happened when a girl was actually sleeping in her house. Some men, they barged into the house and then they raped her. It happened right in Kerala. And again, during the COVID time, I just narrated one example. Just imagine when every family members are within the house, the most vulnerable is the woman. That is what the data shows us. In spite of having a domestic DV Act. So why such crimes? So after Delhi incident, we amended the criminal, we introduced a criminal law amendment of 2013. We introduced all sort of offenses, as in etc. And we believed each one of us, people like Bismi, we believe that no more. But after that, again incidents happen. National data, I didn't share you the national data. When I to me, it was nothing but the Indian data that I was sharing with you. Okay. So, and again, when I was international arena, I was just mentioning about the feminist side, because, that is more in the Latin American countries. I was talking about domestic violence from India, and I told you this is the same case in different countries also, especially Singapore or Japan or US, everything, it is just one and the same. So that is what I was trying to tell you. I didn't share any international data. I was just sharing the data from Indian context, and the international data, it was supporting that Indian data. And Indian data you have shared shows that Indian culture, the family system, etc., has nothing to do with crimes against women, domestic violence. Actually, I didn't understand your question. Indian culture, what is the Indian culture that you're talking about? The family system, etc. So, Indian culture, if you could you just explain that?
Hello. Hello. Hi, ma'am. This is Vijayalakshmi.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I was meaning I heard that you were telling in Singapore there were so many cases recorded.
No. It was supporting the Indian data.
All right.
What I told you was in India, this is a situation, and it is similar in other countries also. It is not that only women in India are facing this. Actually, it is called pandemic. It is Vijayalakshmi. It is called the shadow pandemic, and it's one of the most gravest violence that is happening around us. It's really pathetic, also.
Yes. So no, what I was intending is that we, like, ma'am, you were telling like the change has to happen from every woman. Like if she has to get out of the violence, or she shouldn't be compromising on whatever she's suffering. So the I was meaning the Indian culture that there's a family setup like which makes the woman to sacrifice so many things to keep the family going or keep the family system going as such
Yes,
without
exactly.
spoiling the, isn't it?
Exactly. This,
So
this is what happens because, Vijay Lakshmi, we are, that is what I told you when I was just in the original, in the beginning itself, I told you, we have certain stereotypes, we have certain myths, isn't it? The myth is that
yes,
whatever is being inflicted upon you, you just suffer because you have to run the family. Who will take care of your
yes,
kids? When you question the injustice that is bestowed upon you, this is the mindset
yes,
of each and every one of us that is living in this particular society. Interwoven culture,
yes,
the party fabric culture that we are talking about. But
yes,
again, in that culture, we have domestic violences, uh, and again, there again, you can find a little bit of diversity because it was not the same in other countries. In other different countries, they're very bold, isn't it? The situation is different, but similar domestic
yes,
violence happens across. That is why I think I use the
yes,
word irrespective of borders, irrespective of jurisdictions, irrespective of
yes.
boundaries. Shadow pandemic is there. So what we can understand is women is always vulnerable when she is put into such situations.
Yes.
So basically, why the only recipe is that you can stand and question, especially when you're dealing with sexual harassment cases. You find that look, the more you try to question, the safer side you are, because the mindset will, it will take time to change.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I think I've shared the slides with IQAC and also to Reginathan sir, because I didn't want to take another chance because there was some problem with the internet and then the PPT was not supporting the PPT. So I shared it with Reginathan sir and
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your sharing with the QC.
Uh, all right, then shall we wind up?
yes.
If anybody has any other questions, you can ask it now. Otherwise, I don't think anybody's. Is anybody? Does anybody want to ask a question? All right, then I don't think anybody's coming forward. So I thank you, ma'am, so for this really wonderful webinar on the topic elimination of violence against women. I'd like to thank our principal, Dr. Raghunathan sir, for giving us this opportunity to host this webinar, and Advocate GC, ma'am, for being the coordinator. And I would also like to thank Ananda Krishnan, without whom we could have not done this webinar. So thank you, ma'am. And thank you all the participants and other faculty members as well.
Thank you, Ravi sir. Thank you, my colleagues.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you, Mr.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.